Today we have Kay Larson-Hayes from Page Up, who is our host for this new performance management system. And Kay is going to be walking us through the process. So if you have questions during the session, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll make sure they are asked and answered during the session. If we get quite a few, we may answer them in the chat as well instead of interrupting Kay's presentation. So look for those as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kay.
Thank you so much, Natalie, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to take a walk through your new performance management system. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So here's our agenda. We're going to actually do kind of like a process overview of what the system is and how it works. We're going to talk about logging into performance management and then navigating through it. We're actually going to take it from both employee and supervisor, since this is a supervisor session. I think it's always important for supervisors to understand what their employees are doing, because in the event that they have a question or they're not sure, they're probably going to come to you. So it will be important that you understand all sides of the system. And then last but not least, completing your actions. We'll go through this slide deck, which kind of outlines everything step by step, and then we'll actually jump into the system so that you can see live and in person how it all works. So first of all, how are you going to access the system? So we have a couple of ways that you can actually do this. So you will be provided, so just so that administrative note, you will have access to this deck after the training is over with, plus you'll also have access to the recording as well. So how do we actually get into the performance management system? As you can see on here, there is a direct link, so you can save that, bookmark that in your computer if you want to. Human Resources has also set up a link on their webpage called Performance Evaluation Plan. You can click in there as well. So maybe you're gone away or something like that, and you don't have your computer and you want to get in. By all means, you can always go to Human Resources. And the third and final way is that when the team actually launches the reviews, which they are currently looking to do the week of July 12th, then you will get an email. Whenever you have an action to take within the system, you will get an email. Within that email, there will also be a link to the performance management system. So you will be able to just click on that link within each one of your emails. So again, it's great to be able to have alternative sources, but we also made sure that within each email, you'll have that process and that link. You will also be using your single sign-on. So you won't have to worry about another separate username or password. You will simply use your single sign-on. Once you have logged in, this is what it's going to look like for you. Now, this is just a sample. We'll look at the whole screen when we go into the system, but both your employee and you will see the exact same screen. So employees will be using My Performance Review, and in many cases, you are all employees as well. So you will also have access to your review as well as your team reviews. And I think that that's important to note here, that you do have access to both. But your employees only will use My Performance, and then you will use Team Performance to complete all of theirs. We'll talk a little bit more in depth as to what both of these items do for you as we move through the system. These are the various steps within the professional support staff evaluation process. So as you can see, there are 8. There are actually only 7, because once the evaluation is moved into the evaluation complete step, then there's no action that is needed by either you or your employees. So the first step in the process will be for your employees to go into the system and actually identify their goals and job responsibilities. When they do that, this is pretty much what they will see for the first time. Again, they're going to get that email notification letting them know that they have a task to do. I think it basically says it's now time for you to go in and add your goals and job responsibilities. They'll log in. They will see under My Performance Review and the new button that basically lets them know that, yep, I'm in the right place. This is where I should be. And then they'll click on the title. The title will take them straight into the document. This is what the new evaluation form and all the various section types looks like. So you will notice there is a start page. Every time somebody logs in, whether it's yourself or your employee, HR has added some start page information. So this one identifies who their supervisor is, when the deadline to identify or complete this task is, and then basically how to actually move through by clicking the next button. Each one of these are various section types, so it doesn't take long to actually complete this evaluation form. So on the first task, the first section, they're going to go in and they're going to add their goals and projects. So the employee will enter that information by simply clicking on Add Goals and Projects button. This item is not rated, so during the evaluation process period, this particular item will not be rated. It will just list the items. So they'll simply click on that Add Goals button and be able to add. Section 2 is their job knowledge and responsibilities. This is where they're going to go in and add their key job knowledges and responsibilities. So again, they're simply going to click on that button. Once they do, and pretty much the fields within the system are all exactly the same. So they'll be able to put a title of their job knowledge or responsibility. Maybe it's training, maybe it's budget, maybe it's help desk, whatever happens to be their key. It is recommended in the instructions that they put no more than 4, but we do realize that from time to time, depending upon the complexity of their position, there may be a need to add additional ones. So they can add that. They will enter the title. They also have the ability to actually upload a document to each one of these as well. Not required. Section 3 is university competencies. So these have already been preloaded. Everyone who receives an evaluation this year will be rated on the same university competencies. Okay, so basically, they're there for informational purposes only, just to give the employer opportunity to review the items that they will later be rated on. They will be rated on this item. Professional development, again, this is not a required item. So employees do not have to enter a professional development item if they don't want to. Definitely, it is encouraged so that they do have some items that they can, be working towards or add. What they'll have is they'll again have that Add Professional Development button. They'll be able to click on New, and then these fields right here, the title and the description will show up. You will see below that it says also professional development from previous review. The way our system is equipped, and it won't happen this year, but next year, when they go to do their reviews, they will have the ability to actually click on previous review. They'll be able to look at that and see if there were any items that they wanted to pull forward. Always, and when it comes to professional development, maybe something happened and they weren't able to complete it, but they want to work on it this year. So they are able to do that. They are actually able to pull things from the previous year review on any of the sections. So that will be really helpful as well when it comes to job responsibilities as well, if they want to be able to do that. But this year, there's nothing that's been preloaded in the system, so they won't be able to do that. And then lastly, they'll have an overall rating tab. So there's nothing in the early part of the process that they're going to need to do here. So it will just, in fact, be blank. This rating will be available during the actual rating period. Once they have completed their review, then the next step in the process is that it's going to come to you as the supervisor. So you will have the ability to review and approve their goals. So again, this is you'll be getting an email that will have that link in it. You'll be able to log in. This time you're going to potentially see more than just one employee. Depending upon how many employees you have, you may see them all out here. You can click the down arrow there and be taken to their item. Just simply click on the title just like they did, and you will be brought to their review. Your document looks exactly the same as the employees. So there really isn't anything other than your start instructions. Start page instructions may be a bit different. Here, what you will be able to do as a supervisor is you will be able to view the employee's information that they have added. You can also add additional information as desired. It works exactly the same way for you as a supervisor as it does for the employees. You will simply click on the Add Goals and Projects button if you feel like there's something that employee should be working towards. Same for job knowledge. You'll be able to see their items that they added. You also can add additional ones if you feel there's something that they missed that was critical. They will be rated on job knowledge and responsibilities. So it is important to note that if in case they miss something, you have the ability to add it. Here is that performance management toolkit again. So it does appear quite frequently throughout the system. On just about every tab, they put a link to that. Now this is in the manager state right now. So you will notice that there is a little bit of instruction here that if you'd like to move it back one step, then basically you can go to the performance management toolbox and there's a set of instructions there. Managers are the only ones other than HR that has the ability to move a review back one step. And there's a set of instructions. So if your employee contacts you and said, hey, Megan, I forgot something. Can you please send my review back to me? By all means, you can go in there, a set of instructions on how you can do that. Okay. If not, these are there for you for informational purposes as well. So pretty much everything is the same. Please review their development areas. If you see there's another item that they need to, you can also add that as well. And then for you, the overall rating is also blocked out at this time until we move into the rating state. So you will need to mark that task complete. So you will see it's a go to next step. You'll see that when we go into the system. So as the supervisor, you will need to go through to one of the tabs, review the items, and on the next steps tab, click go to next step. Okay. And then that will move it into the next step in the process. During this point in time, as soon as the actual review evaluation process is actually open, you may or may not opt into wanting to use this for any reason. But we do have a journaling functionality within the system, which allows both supervisors and employees to log in at any time. So you don't have to be working on the particular review. You can just go in and add journal entries. And what does this mean? So you can go in and add journal entries about yourself. Okay? So if there's something that you want to be able to remember when you're doing the evaluations on particular employees, then using the journal entry is a good thing to do. You don't have a big period of time, so I'm not sure how much of this you will use. Just wanted to bring it to light that there is an area that you can use. So you can click on journal entry, you can put a title. We do allow hashtags. So again, those work really nicely if you're going to identify things for individual employees. So if you have more than one employee and you want to make notes about them, this is a great way to be able to do that. So you can click on it here and this will open up. You can also go in About Me and you will see that this says no journal entries. To add a new journal entry, click this button. Then you'd also be able to add it there. So there are a couple of areas. In addition to that, there is some journaling. We have an everyday performance app. It is available in the Apple store as well as Android. So you can download it's called Everyday Performance App. And when you go to download it, it will have like the Page Up logo there, and so that you will know that you are in the right place. This is nice for those folks who are in fact very comfortable using their phone to putting entries and things like that on it. So you may be at a conference or something like that where when it comes time for performance time, you want to make a note about a particular individual or maybe even something that you've done yourself. It's kind of a nice tool to be able to have. Becoming more and more, apps are becoming the way of life for many of us. So just wanted to bring that out to folks so that you do know that that is available. You can put in photos, you can record a conversation. So if you want to just track it that way, you can do that as well. The next step in this process is going to be for the employee to actually complete their self-evaluation. So I'm just going to keep reiterating that employees, supervisors, you're all going to get a notification. You'll be able to log in. Everything is pretty much the same. The process is repeatable. Click on the title, and then they will be brought to the self-evaluation. When they are, basically what will happen is that they will see they have now the ability to rate themselves. So their stars will be blank, and then they will have the ability to add a comment. So you'll notice that there's 4 stars. So star is very similar to radial buttons or a checkbox on a form. There's no real connotation behind them, but basically it does outline what the ratings are. So they will complete the rating. They have the ability to add a comment if they want. They will rate themselves on the job knowledge, university competencies, and overall rating. They will not need to rate their goals and projects or professional development, but they will have the ability to add a comment. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Natalie to discuss the new rating scales.
Thanks, Kay. So with our new system, we will have new rating scales that will be utilized for these performance reviews. As you can see, we have 4 categories now. They are exceeding, succeeding, developing, and needs improvement. We anticipate and hope to see most folks falling in the succeeding and developing categories. These would be, folks that are succeeding is meeting the expectations of the role. They're performing as you would expect. They're, meeting all those requirements of the position. Developing is going to be folks that are maybe brand new employees that are just learning the new skills and competencies for their role, or it might be an existing employee that has new duties assigned to them, whether that's due to a departmental restructure, or retirements, or things of that nature. So that's going to be, a rating assigned to those folks that are still learning and developing on those items, but not to be viewed as a negative mark. It's just a status of where they're at in their performance. And then the other 2 ends of the spectrum here, the needs improvement and exceeding, are really reserved for those exception cases. So exceeding is going to be somebody that is really a high performer, performing way above and beyond what you would expect for the role. And they're really demonstrating some exceptional work or knowledge or initiative, whatever that may be. That's what that rating's reserved for. And then needs improvement is obviously for folks that haven't quite met the minimums of the role. Maybe they need some additional training or guidance or resources to help them succeed. In the past, the needs improvement category was tied to an automatic entry into a performance improvement plan. That is no longer the case in this new review system or ratings. So while somebody can utilize a performance improvement plan for somebody that's getting needs improvement ratings, it is not a requirement. And so you don't have to launch into that automatically. Again, succeeding and developing are where we are expecting and hoping to see vast majority of folks sitting in. And this whole new rating scale was developed in mind with trying to encourage accurate and honest evaluations of where folks are at. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kay.
Thank you, Natalie. So with that, once your employee has completed their evaluation, then clearly the next step in the process will be for you as the supervisor to go in and complete the evaluation. So it's the same routine. You're going to get that notification. You're going to log in and you'll go down to your employee and find their item. At this point in time, what you will see when you come in is the fact that you will now rate their job knowledges, their university competencies, and their overall, and you will also be able to provide comments. So it will look very similar to what you see here. You will now see the employees' ratings, and you will be able to rate the employee. Ratings for you as a supervisor are mandatory. Comments are not. So you can make comments on each item and is encouraged, especially if you want to call out something great that they've done on a particular item. Obviously, feedback is always welcome from supervisors to employees. When you reach the final step on, which is the last tab on the evaluation called the Next Steps tab, you will be required to add and manage your final comments. So if you have not added any comments at any place during the whole process, you will be required now. So you will not be able to progress the review. You do not even see a go to next step button until which point in time as the comments have been added. You will simply scroll down to the bottom of the page and you will add your comments. Once you have done that, then the go to next step button does appear and you can move it into the next phase. The next phase does in fact also belong to you. You are likely going to log out of the system at this point in time because you're going to need to schedule a meeting between your employee and yourself to review any of the documents, comments, go over their evaluation, and that may be that is definitely an outside of the system task, but you will need to come in clearly to be able to either print out the review to share it with them, PDF it and email it to them, or basically, I know a lot of our supervisors just share their computer screen with the employee depending upon, and that's what I used to do as a supervisor, just flipped my screen around and shared my screen with the employee and went over each item. If you do that, so one way or the other, you are going to need to come back into the system and you must move this to the next step. So once you hit this to go to this step, once you've completed meeting with the employee, you will need to click on to move it to them so that the employee will have the opportunity to acknowledge their review. So those are kind of the only kind of gotchas, is that everything has a manual step to go to the next step. We did not put in, we did have the ability to actually add things that would auto move, but some people get busy. Maybe they haven't had an opportunity to finish something. And so kind of making sure that you go in and finish something within that period of time and you move it to the next step when you're done, instead of the system saying, oh no, in 30 days, we're moving it, whether you've done anything or not, probably is not necessarily a good thing. We all get busy and sometimes we just know that we have to do it, but we just haven't gotten to it. So when the employee goes in to acknowledge their review, then basically they cannot change anything, they cannot edit anything. The only thing that they can do at this point in time is to review all of the items. And on that very last tab, they will have the option. It is not mandatory for employees to leave a final comment. They will have the option to be able to leave final comments. Once they acknowledge it, it will come back to you as the supervisor for one last final review. And this is based on feedback from supervisors from previous years. That Deb and the team have gathered that a lot of times employees do make final comments and the managers in the past have not been able to see what those comments are. So this step was incorporated so that you as a manager can actually go in and review the final comments. Some employees will not leave them, others will be very conscientious and leave final comments. So again, when you come in at this point in time, you will not be able to change anything either. You will be able to see the employee's final comments. They will only be able to make comments on that very last page. So that kind of makes it easier for you. And you can also add additional comments to your comments as well. Once that's done, you will actually move it into the evaluation complete state. When the evaluation is in the evaluation complete state, Basically, all of the section types or tabs that we saw when we were completing it go away, and the document becomes one comprehensive report. Employees will have the ability to view their reviews. Their reviews will be there forever, as long as GVSU remains a customer of PageUp, then you and the employee will always have access to any of their previous reviews. So employee can log in, and at this time, they're going to go to About Me. So if you're an employee as well and you want to see your previous review, you will go to About Me, click on Performance Reviews. You will come to a page that looks very similar to this. You will simply change the status to complete, hit search, and be able to view the report. If you're the supervisor, yours is going to look just a little bit different. So you'll again log into, but this time you're going to go to My Team. So you click on My Team, you will go to Performance Reviews down here. When you do that, your screen will look a lot different because you will have a lot more employees and people to look at. So down, you'll see this, and then down below, you'll see a list of employees. Those are probably your current things that are active in the system. You can go over to the status, change it to complete, and you will be able to view any of the completed evaluations. This is nice to be able to look back next year, to be able to click on and say, what did I say about Sally last year? Let me just make sure that we're kind of staying on track. So that's what that all looks like. So give me just a second and we will jump into the system. Now what I'm about to do is going to be a little bit different than what you need to do because for me, I have to kind of control both the employee and the supervisor. And as I said, I want to be able to show you the employee exactly what that's going to look like from employee perspective as well as from a supervisor perspective. So I'm going to log in as the employee here. So when your employees first come in, this is what they're going to see. This is going to look very similar to what you're going to see, except you will notice that they don't have any team performance reviews. Now, if you are a supervisor and an employee as well, then you will see your review up here and all of your team reviews down here. So they'll come in, there's their About Me area, and they will click on their performance review. Here is their start page, basically informational text, very similar to what you saw on the slides, that they'll see who their supervisor is and the actual deadline for their item. They'll simply click on Next and move through the various sections. Goals and projects is the first one, so they will come in. There's a set of instructions here, very nicely done. There's a link to the Performance Management Toolkit, and they will add their goals. So that may be one of them. They'll put a brief description of what that is, training for. They can upload a document simply by clicking on Upload, select File. It drives to their desktop. They can upload anything if they need to. Generally speaking, probably when they're doing goals, they're not going to. And so we can say, oops. I want to say project management. And then they'll click Next. So they're simply going to move through job responsibilities, same thing here. And the instructions do say that probably no more than 4, but as I said earlier, there may be a good reason for somebody to need to add additional job knowledge items. I'm going to just put in 2 for time purposes. University competencies, they're all here, so there's nothing that needs to be added at this point in time. You're just going to take this opportunity to review the items so that they're aware that they will be rated on these items. And they'll click on next. Professional development, they do not have to add anything here if they don't want to, but they can by all means. So maybe they want to improve their leadership skills. So they may have others that they want to work on as well. When they get to the very end, basically, as I said, the overall rating, there's nothing that they need to do at this point. So they will go to the next steps tab. And they will click on go to next step. It's going to tell them what that next step is so that the supervisor reviews, they will need to move that review into that next step. They will also have a summary here. So if they wanted to check on, okay, I did this, I did that, here's all my university competencies, here's the item I added for professional development. They can always go back at this point before they move forward and actually change anything or add anything. And then they click go to next step. At that point in time, they still have the ability to see it, but they cannot change anything because now it has moved to you. So the employee is basically going to log out. And now you're going to get an email as their supervisor. You won't have to worry about refreshing your screen. I'm just quicker than my system is. And I'm now going to come in as you. So you'll have gotten an email, you will have logged in, and now you will come to, as the supervisor, this screen. Your name will appear here. You'll have the logout. Yes, there's the smartphone app. Your profile basically doesn't have, my profiles don't have anything on these employees. Basically your name, potentially your department, and your position title is all that shows up there. You'll click on journal entry. If you want to add journal entries, you'll simply click on there. So you can make basically a note to yourself. You can do it, anything, and you can add it. Not that that's going to apply to anything that you'll need. Under here, you'll see my team. So from a supervisor's perspective, you will see an organizational chart. Not in the typical way that you're used to seeing it. I don't have one here that I can click on, but basically you would see yourself at the top, and then you will see all your employees listed underneath it. And if your employees are supervisors of other employees, you will also be able to see that as well. So in that case, you won't be able to do anything unless they're your direct reports with regards to their reviews, but you will be able to see them. We'll come back to performance reviews at the end of the process. And basically the same thing with your team details. We will, there is some instructions in there for team details with regards to moving things back. It's kind of a little bit of a lengthy process, and probably my system is going to take a long time to get to there. But basically you would go to team details if you wanted to move an item back. And I don't have anything in here that I can do. So you can always click the home button, the little house, and go back to the main menu.
Okay, we have a question here under Charlie's name. There's under that drop down, it says smartphone app. What does that do in the system here?
So that is basically my everyday performance app. So that's what I talked about on the screen. You have access to download either at the Apple App Store or Google Play for Android. So you can download the app, and there is a barcode that once you scan it, you'll be able to use it. And so basically that's what that refers to. So as soon as you download your app, then you will have that ability to use that.
Okay, thank you, Kay.
So we'll click back on home again. And we'll click on our little drop down arrow, and we're going to see that you now can review the items. So again, instructions for you. Here's a deadline for that. And you are able to click on next and to move through. Here's the nice part. Basically, if you are happy with what the employee has done for goals and projects, then you don't have to do anything other than review it. Maybe there is a detail that they forgot to add under project management, so you can add additional description to that. You also have the ability to add additional goals and projects. So if there happens to be something that you feel like they forgot to add, you can go in and add it. If not, you can simply click on next. Same thing on job knowledge and responsibilities. This is probably the key area where you may feel as a supervisor that there might be a key area that they forgot to add. You know, maybe they are maybe there's something that you forgot to add that they want to add in here, that you want to add in here, you can do that by all means. University competencies, again, for you, everything has already been added, so you don't need to worry about entering. Again, just more of an awareness item for you, but you can see what you will be rating the individuals on. Professional development, the same thing. If you're happy with what they've put in there for professional development, you have the ability to add an additional one should you see the need, but if not, you're moving through. Your overall rating will not appear until the next step, so you'll continue through. It will always be important to continue to the end of your process. So click all the way to the next steps tab, where you will manually move this to the employee complete self-evaluation. So once we've done that, then you can see your other employees. So if we looked at Mark, you can see the state that they're at. So if there's nothing that you have to do on these particular individuals, then you can just simply log out at this point in time. And now the employee will get their email that it's time for them to complete their self-assessment. Hopefully that worked. They'll log back in. That's what the task says. That's what I thought was going to happen. So you will never see that message, so you never have to worry about it. Basically just says that my manager wasn't logged out. If for some reason you don't log out, then by all means, they may see that, but it's doubtful because the email will trigger and you will never ever be that close to each other to get that information that quickly. So now the employee is going to go in and do their self-evaluation. So that, again, some very nice instructions in here with regards to them. They're clicking on the next button. And so they're in their goals and projects. They may not, so they can add a comment. If they have added a journal entry, they can click on journal entry. So maybe we just want to do this and we want to click on link. They don't have to make a comment. They can just say performance training, either they completed it or whatever. They do have the ability to delete this item as well if they want to delete it. They have the ability to upload a document. So maybe they want to show you, the number of people who they trained. So they put together a document. They can upload that document that also reflects the number of folks who have completed the campus-wide training. Or they can just simply add a comment that says, and then save and share. Can save it as private. If they save it as private, just like you, they can save it as private. It puts it into a draft. There are buttons here that they can actually edit it, delete it. But if they do put it at the save as private, they will have to publish it. Otherwise, it will not be viewable by you. So same works for you when you're making comments. If you put it at save as private, it will not be viewable by anybody but you, which is not really a good reason to put a comment. Job knowledge, again, they're going to be able to go in and rate themselves. Add a comment again here. They'll be able to move through that. Maybe they're still working on budgets, so you want to make a comment. And they're not sure what this is yet, so they're going to do that. And then they're going to click next. The values, they're going to come through and rate themselves. Again, leave comments. Comments are not mandatory. But again, encourage. They may want to take the time to, say, I think I communicate very, very well. I've completed so many trainings, things like that. Leadership, maybe they're actually working on developing that, so they want to. And again, there's no rating for professional development, so they will basically roll. And then they will have the opportunity to rate themselves. It does say that they would encourage you to add supporting comments with regards to your rating. That's totally optional for the employee. And then everybody must come into that next steps tab, and they will now move it to you. So once they're done, they're going to move it to you. And we're going to log out of Sally. Maybe that will happen. So hopefully I won't get that message. And now you're going to get the email that tells you it's now time for you to complete the employee evaluation. Even that didn't work. Sometimes you just have to. I apologize for this. I can't believe that my fingers are actually that quick that the system. But sometimes as we get towards it, we just need to actually slow down and let it happen. I'll do this. And then go back. Hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed that it works this time. Yeah. So when you receive the review and you log in and you're actually accessing it, it is going to have the employee's name. So you know, because you will have potentially as a supervisor, you'll have more than one employee review that you'll need to do. So that will actually appear for you. And then there's kind of instructions. Once you've completed the assessment, please schedule your discussion meeting. So we won't jump ahead too much. So you will see now, you will be able to see the employees' comments. Here again, we're not rating these, so you can add your own comments if you want to. If you have a journal entry that you made with regards to this item for that particular individual, you can do that as well. Same thing on project management. You can save and share. So initially, Sally Performance is the name of my employees. So your employee's name will appear here along with their comments. Charlie Performance is the name of my manager. Your name will appear here along with the information, and it will also show the date and time. As we move forward, it will actually show the date and time. Today just says today, but it will actually show the actual date of the item. So again, you're going to go through and rate the items. As managers, you are not required to add a comment to every item. Some of them I definitely encourage as much feedback as possible for your employees, but you will be required at the end of the review to add those final comments. So you're going to go in and rate all of their competencies. And you will notice that there's a saving button. I don't know if you saw it when it came up. It automatically appears. So you do not have to worry about clicking any kind of a save button. The system will automatically save every couple of seconds, or every time that you click into something, it will automatically save for you, so you don't have to. Again, no ratings on professional development. My mouse is tired. And you'll give them their overall rating. And you can add a comment there if you want. But when you do come to this final page, you will notice that you do not have a go to next step. This is the next step, but you must add a comment. You can scroll down and you can say, you will notice that as soon as I started typing, that my blue button now appeared. So this is the go to next step. You'll move it forward. And the next step does belong to you as well. So you're clearly going to come out of the system. You will need to log back in, folks. So you'll schedule your meeting with the employee. You're going to come back into the system. You have a couple of ways to actually share this review with them. So you can just bring up your screen just like I have and go over each section type and look at it that way. You have the ability to click on report. So you can click on actions. It will print report. You will see what the actual final document is going to look like without any of their final comments. So it has their name, the name of the review, your name, what step it's at, and then so you can scroll down through and you can see your ratings. So if you want to present it to them this way, You do have the ability up here to print it, to put it into a PDF. Some people like their employees to get it before they get there. Some people don't. And so you can put it in a PDF and email it to them at that point if you want to. So one, share your screen, other not. Once you are done with this step, you are simply going to click on the next step and you will move it to the employee acknowledge. Now it's out of your queue at this point in time. So as we come to the end of the process, now when the employee comes in to acknowledge, they will not be able to change anything. So they will simply come into their review just so that you know for sure. We'll look at job responsibilities. They cannot change anything that's here. They cannot add any additional comments to anything that is here. So most likely they're just kind of reviewing each one of the items. When they get to next steps, they will have the option to leave a final comment. And then they will move it on to you. So I can't stress enough, just the only real manual stuff is the go to next step. And the final step in the process will be for it to come to you. And again, at the request of many of the supervisors, now again, simply because you know that they can't change anything, it may only be important for you. So you can't change anything either. You can't add any additional comments. So a quick way to actually go to this would be to simply just click on the next step button and you will be able to read any final comments that the employee has left. So we can click go to next step. This will complete the review. You will see that that employee's name has now dropped off of your list. If you want to see completed reviews, you will now go to the My Team, click on Performance Reviews. When I said when you first come in, you're going to see a lot of things. So these will still be all of your active reviews that you have in the system. You will come over here, change the status to complete, and hit search. You will then be able to see Sally's review by clicking on View Report. You can now see the final comments for everybody. Nothing has changed. You can see this is their journal entry, all of your ratings as the supervisor, and the overall rating at the end, as well as their journal entry appendix. If you want to, again, you have the same ability here to print that off. If you don't, then you're fine. You don't have to do that. And if you need to help your employee, basically your employees will come in. They will go to About Me. They will go to Performance Reviews. Their screen looks a little bit different because they won't have all of their employees, and they will simply click Complete and Search. And so next year when they come back, if they want to look at their review ahead of time, they will be able to view the report and see their report. So ladies and gentlemen, that does complete your training on the new performance management system.